Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Want to hear something scary? Window to the soul.
This story was inspired by a submission from Elaine Buckner. A long time ago, I went to an antique store with my dad. We had just finished lunch nearby and wanted to poke around at the local shops. There were a lot of really interesting items, vintage furniture and old paintings, but I was immediately drawn to the section where all the dolls were. I loved dolls, especially the porcelain ones that closed their eyes when you lay them down to sleep. I picked one up and was admiring her golden-hued irises when I heard a voice call out to me. It was an old lady sitting behind the counter. I assumed she was the owner.
"You like dolls, little lady?"
She croaked, her voice coarse and dry. I nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, I do." She motioned for me to come over to the counter.
"That's a very special doll,"
she continued.
"Her name is Savannah. She was mine when I was a young girl, just like you."
The old lady continued to ask me questions about my life, my interests, my hobbies, my goals in life. I was used to older people being friendly and inquisitive, so I didn't mind at all.
"I just love children," the lady said. "So full of life, so much potential. Not like me. My sight's not what it used to be. Enjoy every moment of your youth, dear."
My dad joined me at the counter, but when I showed him Savannah, he told me he wasn't going to buy me yet another doll, then headed back outside. Dejected, I placed the doll back on the counter when the old lady handed it back to me and winked. I hadn't really noticed how white her eyes were before. I thanked her and left the store. Savannah was my new favorite doll. Even though she was from an antique shop, she was in very good condition. I loved twirling her soft blonde ringlets of hair. Her dress had beautiful embroidered patterns that were extremely fun to run my fingers over. She was the latest addition to my afternoon pretend tea parties, where I'd prop up my dolls in a circle, along with my baby sister, Lexi. I was sipping make-believe tea and gabbing about my imaginary travels all over the world. But I noticed that Lexi was upset. She was usually a happy, quiet baby, but she was frowning and whimpering. "Doll," she mumbled. I grabbed one of my older dolls and waved it in front of her, but it didn't seem to cheer her up. I thought maybe Savannah might be able to calm her down, so I grabbed her and brought her close. But that's when Lexi began screaming. I dropped Savannah and picked up my baby sister. I bounced her up and down in my arms, trying to calm her down. Once she'd stopped crying, I set her back down on the floor near Savannah, who was laying on her back, eyes closed shut. Over the next few days, Lexi continued to act up like this, but only when Savannah was around. I didn't want to admit it at the time, but Savannah was also starting to make me feel uneasy too. Her eyes, even though they were yellow, felt so real, so lifelike. I decided to put Savannah away in my closet. The next day, there was a knock on the door. I was in my room playing with my sister, and I heard my dad answer. Then I heard his voice get louder and more angry. I went over to see what was going on. Right outside the door was the old lady from the antique shop. How did she know where we lived? Why was she here? My dad turned to me. "Did you steal that doll?" he said accusingly. "She gave it to me," I replied defensively.
"Don't worry, I'm not here to take her back," the old lady explained. "I just wanted to see if you were enjoying her. Are you still playing with her?"
I was quiet for a few moments. I didn't want to tell her that the doll actually creeped me out now and it was stuffed behind my clothes, so I lied. I love it."
"It isn't polite to lie,"
the old lady screeched. It caught me and my dad off guard.
"You better take her out of that closet or I'll make you regret not appreciating your youth."
At this point, my dad basically shoved her off our front steps and slammed the door. I had no idea what had just happened. What was so special about that doll? I went back to my room and dug Savannah out of my closet. I looked deep into her yellow eyes, those hyper-realistic eyes. And then it hit me. I felt incredibly nauseous. I had brought Savannah with me everywhere. She'd slept in bed with me. She sat on the sink while I showered. She saw everything. The old lady saw everything. I knew what I had to do. I held Savannah high in the air and smashed her on the ground. Her face shattered all over the floor. Her glass eyes began to roll away, and I rammed my shoe on top of each of them until they were no more than tiny bits. A wave of relief washed over me. I went to go celebrate my small victory with Lexi. I grabbed her under the arms and hoisted her up in the air, swinging her gently and smiling cheerily at her. I didn't put her down until I noticed her yellow-colored eyes.
每天都需要你的拥抱，珍惜在一起的每分每秒。